Hello, today we are going to work on the law of cosines, which is another trig formula that we can use that allows us to find the different sides of a triangle where the triangle is not a right angle. So because it's not a right triangle, we're not able to use SOHCAHTOA kind of stuff with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So instead we can use the different sides of the triangle that are not from a right triangle. And so now that we're using these different kinds of triangles, we need to make sure that we use the right angle. I know these little formulas or whatnot look a little crazy, but they're really not bad. They just, once you get used to them, you're going to probably start to memorize them actually. So I want you to notice that if we're working with angle A, that means that our formula is going to start with side A. And then all of the other letters that are inside are the other sides that are not the A. So I don't know, maybe that seems silly, but that's how I kind of look at it to try to remember what I'm doing. So the first example that we're going to work with, we are, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen, but it's still the same concept. So here's our formulas. But the first example that we're working with is this one here. And in here, we know the angle for A. We know the 145 for A. So that tells me that I'm going to be using this formula. Okay, so the one that starts with an A squared. So I'm going to rewrite that over here so that we can refer back to it while the screen is zoomed in. So we're going to use the one that's A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. And just make sure I wrote that down right. Yeah, 2BC cosine A. Okay. Yep. So definitely you can probably see that you're going to want to use your calculator today, because this can kind of get crazy. So, but when we know the angle, that's actually the easiest thing, because it means that we know what one side is, we know what another side is, that's repeated for this B and C, and we know the A. So we basically know everything on the right side. We just have to plug everything in. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. So just a reminder from yesterday, if this is angle B, straight across from it is side B. If this is angle C, straight across from it is side C. Okay, just as a reminder if I'm writing those in and you're like, where the heck is she getting that? Okay, so we're trying to find this side A. BC is another name for side A. Okay, so to set this up, we've got A squared equals, our B is 19, so 19 squared plus 25 squared minus 2 times 19 times 25 multiplied by the cosine of A. Oh, but that cosine of A is cosine of 145. So as you're doing this, I'm just reaching for my calculator. As you're doing this, make sure that your calculator is in degrees. Yep, mine switched, so I need to switch mine. Make sure you're in degrees. So if you click on mode, you can change it down to degree mode. Okay, so I'm typing in 19 squared plus 25 squared minus 2 times 19 times 25 multiplied by cosine 145. And I just typed it all in at once. Nothing, like I'm not going through and solving each little thing. I'm just typing it all straight in. And I get 1764 point. I'm going to keep the decimal long for now. That's something that you're going to find, especially tomorrow as we're doing solving triangles. It's really important that you keep your decimals long until the very end, okay? So now we have an A squared equals that, but we need to square root both sides so that we can get the A all by itself. And I'm just going to leave it all in the calculator as it is and square root it, and then we get 42. Technically, it's 42.0023, but now is when we can simplify it and call it good. So, okay, so A is 42. So it's kind of nice when you just plug it all in and it's all there for you. Okay, here's another one where we have the angle. So this will just kind of be another kind of practice like that. So we're finding side C. Okay, that kind of looks big like it's an angle, but we're finding side C. Okay, because we're looking for side C, that means our formula starts with the little c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Really, that order doesn't matter because you're just adding them together. And then minus 2ab cosine c. And that's just like a capital C. Okay, so that's the formula that we're working with. So we have c squared equals, our a is 17, our b is 30. So 17 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 17 times 30, and then cosine of 32 degrees. Okay, I'm just going to type that all straight in. So 17 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 17 times 30, cosine of 32. And I got 323.9909419. Okay, kept it long on purpose. And then we're going to square root both sides. Oh, square root. And I got 17.999, so that's going to mean that it's 18. Okay, so our C side is 18. Okay, one more example like that. If you're feeling good, then that's great. Okay, this time it says we're looking for angle B. And so we need to do some work to be able to get that. Because we've got this stuff. So when we work to get that, it's going to give us this side A. And then once we know side A, then we can use this stuff to solve for angle B. So this one is going to be a little bit more involved, even though it seems like we've got the same things. So, okay, so we need to start with finding side A. So we've got, let's see, where do I want to write this? Right here. We've got a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. This is the formula that we're going to use. So a squared is 14 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 14 times 30. And then cosine of A is cosine 45. All right. Really, this is just kind of plug and chug kind of stuff. So I'm just typing all of that craziness in. Cosine 45. Okay, and I got A squared is 502.0303038. And then I need to square root both sides. So once we square root that, I got A is 22.4. Okay, I'm just going to look really quick. I think we're fine, but I'm just going to look and see, because we got a decimal. Is there anything that happened wrong? I think we're okay. If you guys notice any mistakes at any point, I hope you will point them out to each other since I'm not there to help you. But I'm thinking that we're fine. Okay, so now that we've got side A is 22.4, now we need to shift just a little bit, and I'm going to kind of move everything over, and we need to find angle B. So this is going to be a little bit rougher than what we were doing. Okay, finding angles are not difficult, but they're definitely more involved because we were not just plugging everything into one side and using the calculator. We have to kind of solve. We have to move things over to the other side. So since we need to find angle B, that means that we need to use the formula that has the B in it. So that means we're using the B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. And we're solving for angle B. So just a reminder before we even start any of this process, because we're solving for the angle, remember that towards the end, we're going to need to use cosine -1 because that's how we find angles, is by doing that opposite inverse process. Okay, so this time we know side B. So that's what's a little weird. We know that B is 14, so 14 squared equals our side A is 22.4. Our C is 30, so 30 squared, minus 2 times 22.4 times 30. Oh no, I'm running out of room. Here, let's squeeze this down a little bit. And then cosine B. So out of all of this, our only variable that we're solving for is that cosine B. We should know everything else as we're going through. Okay, so I want you to think about this like solving an equation, and I'm going to try to highlight this a little bit to really make sure you're seeing this. So on the right side, you have 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, notice that the plus and the minus in between them are separating the terms. And I want you to really focus on that because you're going to move the first 2 terms over. So you're going to subtract 22.4 squared and subtract 30 squared. Okay, so we have 14 squared minus 22.4 squared minus 30 squared. And then that equals this -2 times 22.4 times 30 cosine B. Okay, this seems a little crazy, but remember all of this stuff right here is in the front of our cosine B. So it's like the coefficient. It's everything that's just in front of it. So that means we can divide it to the other side. Okay, so we're going to divide that over here. And you can simplify this as you go, but I just figure why? Like, why not just leave it as it is? Okay, so I'm definitely using my fraction button for this. You don't want to do this without the fraction button. So remember, you type in alpha, y equals, and then enter. And that will give you the little fraction button on your calculator. Okay, that's going to be super helpful. And if you're not going to use that, you probably need to simplify this little by little as you go. So let's see. Typing this in, alpha y equals enter. So I have 14 squared minus 22.4 squared minus 30 squared all over -2 parenthesis 22.4 parenthesis 30. Okay, all is one giant thing. And our answer seems weird, but it's not because we're finding the angle. Remember, we have to do the arc stuff. I'm going to go this far. Okay, just because I ran out of room. So remember, we need to do the cosine -1 so that we can cancel that out. So we need to cosine -1, which another way we say that is arc cosine or inverse cosine. So if we inverse cosine that same thing, and I kind of like to just leave it in my calculator so that I can go up and enter it and like copy it, and that's a really good way to use the calculator. So go up, copy it, and then you get that the angle B is 26.21 degrees. Okay, so we've got it, 26.21. Now, we have so much on our triangle now, we might as well find angle C at the same time, because remember, the full triangle's angles add up to 180, and now that we've got two of them, we might as well find the third. So the third angle is 108.79. Okay, now we know all three sides and all three angles, so this is called a solved triangle. Once we know everything on the triangle, then our triangle is solved. Okay, I told you it was a little bit more intense. It's not difficult stuff, it's just realizing like how you move things around and being careful with all of that. Okay, let's try a couple more examples. So we have our formulas written down again if you need them. This is something that I don't mind if you guys have written up on the board. You know, like you're able to use a paper for notes on your quiz that we're going to have on Friday. You're welcome to write this on that paper if you want, but I don't mind if it's up on the board either, because that's just fine. Okay, so this next one, it's kind of like what we were doing before. We've got these three things, and that's going to help us to find side C. But really what we're asked for is angle A. So we're going to have to kind of do a couple different parts here. So let's start with this first part kind of over here. So we have, let's see, we're finding C. So that means we're going to use C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Okay, that's the formula that we're using. And so we have C squared is, let's see, our A is 22, our B is 16, minus 2 times 22 times 16. Gosh, I keep not giving myself enough room. Let's move that over just a little bit. Okay, and then cosine of 18. All right, I'm just going to type it all straight in the calculator. So 22 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 22 times 16, cosine 18. Enter. Okay, that gives us that our C squared is 70.45621,253. All right, square root both sides, and we get our C is 8.394. So if you wanted to say 8.4, that works. All right, so our little side there is 8.4. Here I'm going to just make this an 8.4. All right, now we can use these two sides to find angle A. Okay, it got messy. Let's clean that up. So now we're going to, since we're trying to find angle A, we're going to use A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. And this is the one where we are going to have the A left, but we should know all of these sides to put in, because now we've got all three sides of our triangle. Okay, so here we go. A is 22 squared. B is 16 squared plus 8.4 squared minus 2 times 16 times 8.4 cosine A. Okay, so we've got everything that we know plugged into our equation. And just remember your different sides or different terms. You've got here, here, and here. So you want to move the first two, just that are the single numbers, just move them over to the other side. So we have, let's go purple, 22 squared minus 16 squared minus 8.4 squared all over this other stuff that would be considered the coefficient. Don't forget the negative that's on there too. So we're dividing by negative 2 times, whoa, I was thinking 22, but it's 16, times 8.4. And that will give us cosine A. All right, so again, in the calculator, make sure you're using your fraction button. So you have 22 squared minus 16 squared minus 8.4 squared all over negative 2 times 16 times 8.4. And that gives us negative 0.5857142857. Okay, but remember, like, I just like to leave this in the calculator so that I don't have to retype it, and then I can just go up with the arrows and hit enter and it'll retype it for me. So we're inverse cosining both sides so that the A is just what we're solving for. So the inverse cosine of our previous answer is 125 point, it's 8.5. We'll just leave it 8.5. Okay, that is our angle. And it seems to make sense. 125 looks like a realistic answer for that angle. And we're good. Okay, I'm going to keep going. If you feel like you understand that at this point, you are welcome to start your homework if you want to, but we can let the video keep playing too. I mean, it's totally up to you guys, but I'll keep running. And remember, this is all on Canvas as well, so if you want to double check on Canvas, you can see what we're doing. Okay, or if like you need to rewatch it or whatever. Okay, this one says to solve the triangle, and so when we solve the triangle, we're basically finding everything. But since we have these three grouped together, that's going to help us find side B first. Okay, so B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. All right. We don't know what B is, but we know that A is 11 and C is 14. And so 2 times 11 times 14. And angle B is 34, so cosine 34. All right, this is a plug and chug into the calculator. 11 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 11 times 14, cosine 34. All right, so B squared is 61.6564 ... There's a few more numbers, but I'm just going to keep it in my calculator and square root it. And then B is 7.85. I would definitely probably keep, like, because this is 8521, so it doesn't, like, it's not really a 7.9 or a 7.8. It's really in the middle, so I would probably just leave it as 7.85 because it really can make a big difference on your angle when you go to find the angle. Okay, so we've got this side now is 7.85. And we're just solving the triangle. So it doesn't matter if we want to find angle A or angle C. We're only going to have to find one of them because as soon as we know one of them, we can subtract from 190 to get the other one. So let's go ahead and find angle C. I don't even know why. I don't know why I would choose that one, but it just seemed great. Okay, so finding angle C means we need C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Okay, so once we, now that we have the 7.85, that is our B. So our C is 14 squared. Our A is 11 squared. Our B is 7.85 squared minus 2 times 11 times 7.85. And then cosine C. Okay, remember this is what we're solving for, so we need to do the subtraction idea, move stuff over. And so we've got 14 squared minus 11 squared minus 7.85 squared all over negative 2 times 11 times 7.85. to solve for cosine C. Okay, so in the calculator, we have all of that. It'll take 2 seconds to type it in. Okay, and then I got negative 0.07746-ish cosine C. So we're going to arc cosine both sides. So cosine -1 of that previous stuff tells us that angle C is 94.44 degrees. Okay, so now that we know that this is 94.44, now to find the angle A, all we have to do is subtract from 180. And that gives us 51.56 degrees. So now we know everything. We know all 3 sides, all 3 angles, so we just solved the triangle. Okay, one last one for good measure. This one is kind of unique because we're starting off not knowing any of the angles. So the other ones that we've done so far, we basically had to find a side and then use it to find an angle. But now we need to find an angle right off at the beginning and then find another angle. So we're actually going to need to do 2 of those angle processes. So let's find A. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. You're probably getting to the point where you're starting to remember this little formula, and you don't have to write it every time. It really is just something that I think is good as I'm trying to teach you guys to show you how to write that, but you don't have to. Let's see, 2 times 27. I shouldn't try to talk about other things while I'm trying to do math at the same time. Okay, so we're going to subtract, divide. Okay, so we've got 23 squared minus 27 squared minus 16 squared all over -2 times 27 times 16. And that is, whoops. Let's see, 23 squared minus 27 squared minus 16 squared all over -2 times 27 times 16. Okay, that whole thing, it gave me, so using the reason I said is because my calculator, since there weren't any decimals in it, it just gave me 19/36. And so you could keep that if you want, but if you're like, oh no, I want decimals like the way I was thinking it would happen, you can just type 19 divided by 36 in the calculator and it will give that to you if you prefer that. So now we're going to have cosine -1 of 0.5277 repeated, and that tells us that our angle is 58.14. Okay, and the angle that we just found was A. So A is 58.14. Now we need to find a second one, and it doesn't matter. You can solve for B or C. Let's just solve for B, since why not? We'll just go alphabetical order here. So if we're solving for angle B, we need B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. All right, so same process. Our B is 27, our A is 23, and our C is 16, minus 2 times 23 times 16 cosine B. Okay. Same thing, subtract, divide. That looks like a plus. Divide. Let's see. Alpha y equals enter. Okay, so 27 squared minus 23 squared minus 16 squared all over -2 times 23 times 16. Okay, and it gave me 7 over 92. We can take cosine -1 of that. Let's just do that. And we get 85.64. Yeah, we'll round it to 85.64. So that's angle B, 85.64. Okay, now I'm just going to start with 180 in the calculator and just subtract both of those. And we get, so this, let's see, let's try to label these. This is A, this is B, and so C is 36.22. And there's all 3 of our angles that we need. Okay, I hope this formula has made sense. It's, like I said, it's kind of a weird one when you first look at it, but you get used to it so fast, I think. And it's pretty straightforward. Honestly, like when you zoom out, it kind of makes you look like you know a lot of stuff because there's a lot of writing there. So that's kind of fun. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me and I will write back to you. And I hope you're doing fabulous. Thanks so much.